2012. That's when Cyberpunk 2077 was first announced. A lot's changed since then. In 2012, Mass Effect was still good. Telltale's episodic style of storytelling was still new. The Witcher 3 didn't exist. Nintendo was making a fool out of themselves, and Skyrim had seen a very recent launch. Well, some things don't change. But 5 years. For 5 years, we've known that CD Projekt RED is working on Cyberpunk 2077, and after having heard not even a peep about the game from the Polish developer, we finally got a good meaty look at it at E3 this year. Though they had a cool-looking cinematic trailer at the Microsoft press conference, the real look at the game came through a behind-closed-doors demo, after which we now know quite a lot about what Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be like. So here, in this feature, we're going to talk about the 15 main new things we've learned about it. First person. This is something that's been rumoured for some time now, and at E3 2018 it was finally confirmed to be true. Cyberpunk 2077 will be played from a first-person perspective, and it looks like it's going to have a gameplay style that's quite similar to something like Deus Ex. However, the game won't be exclusively first-person. During cutscenes and in driving sections, more on this in a bit, the game will be third-person, though you can drive in first-person view if you wish. Action mechanics. The general feel of Cyberpunk 2077's moment-to-moment gameplay is a lot faster than CD Projekt RED's last game, The Witcher 3. The most obvious change, of course, being that combat is now centered around gunplay, but there's a lot more cool stuff that you can do in the game too. There are cover mechanics in the game, while you can also slide or even wall run. Additionally, the game also features a slow-motion bullet time move, and effectively combining all of this, you get a game that's much more kinetic and dynamic in nature. Combat details. Combat in general looks like it's embracing the game's cyberpunk setting wonderfully. There's a lot to talk about here, so let's not waste any time. There's an ability that allows you to see enemies behind cover once you've scanned them. There's a shotgun that has a mode that lets you fire through obstacles and cover. Combining these two can have devastating effects. There's a rifle in the game whose bullets track and follow its targets. There's a targeting system in the game that lets you bounce bullets off the wall and allows you to see the path these bullets will take before you shoot them. You can also customize your weapons with mods. Oh, and remember those cool blades that are attached to the arms that we saw in the game's very first trailer? Yep, those are in the game as well. So there's a melee aspect to combat too. Loads of abilities. But there's a lot more as far as abilities you can use in the game are concerned. For starters, you can hack enemies and introduce malware into their software systems to prevent them from shooting at you. There's a spider bot in the game that you control through your implants. More on this in a bit. Your character in the game also has engineering skills, which you can invest time in to upgrade, because it allows you to open up new paths in the game. Oh, also there's double jumps. Driving. Driving is also in the game, to no one's surprise. You can use cars to get around the city. Additionally, there's vehicular combat too, during which players lean out of their windows to shoot at enemies. Seemingly while you're aiming and shooting, driving and navigation become automated. You can drive in both first-person view and third-person view, and while in first person, the vehicle's dashboards look nice and detailed. Oh, and you can also drive motorcycles. Here's the best part though, you can run over pedestrians. Character creation. Unlike CD Projekt RED's previous RPG experiences, Cyberpunk 2077 will allow you to choose and customize your protagonist before you begin playing the game. You can, of course, choose your character's gender, but you can also change their appearance to some extent, including tattoos, apparel, hair, makeup, and other such stuff. While customizing your character, you will also put points into different categories of stats, which are strength, constitution, intelligence, reflexes, tech, and cool. And cool here doesn't mean awesome, it means calm, and this will govern how well your character performs in situations under pressure. The protagonist. While you're choosing and customizing your character, you'll also choose a backstory for them, in typical tabletop RPG fashion. Your gender and your background, or your life path as it's being called, will affect how the world reacts to you. Other than that, there will be some things about the protagonist that will be predefined. For instance, their name. They'll be called V, and you're going to be a mercenary. And yeah, that's pretty much all we know about this person and what their role and place in the game's universe is. Class system. Cyberpunk 2077 also has a class system in place, but it's not like your regular class systems in that you choose a specific class and then stick with it for the rest of the game. It's a little more fluid than that. There are 3 classes in the game: Solo, Techie, and Netrunner, but you put points into each of them and decide yourself through gameplay which one you want to be. Or if you want, you can be more of a jack of all trades. Dialogue options. While Cyberpunk 2077's combat, at least on surface level, might give you the impression that the game is a first-person shooter, it really isn't. CD Projekt RED have put a lot of emphasis on the fact that this is still an RPG, which, if you've watched the video up until this point, you'll know is quite true. Other than classes and stats and all the other stuff we've talked about, another RPG element that Cyberpunk 2077 will also have is dialogue choices. But yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be at all surprised by this particular fact. Inspection system. There's also an inspection system in Cyberpunk 2077, which is essentially one of the many ways to interact with the game's world. Through the inspection system, you can learn info and lore details about stuff you see in the world. The inspection system is also intrinsically tied with the bot we spoke of earlier, which apparently is going to be your character's companion for the entirety of the game. Street cred. One quite important mechanic in Cyberpunk 2077 is known as street cred. It's, as the name suggests, your character's general reputation in the world of Cyberpunk 2077, but mechanically speaking, it's more of an XP system. The more quests and activities you take on and complete, the more street cred you gain, and the more street cred you gain, the more new content you unlock. Street cred, by the way, is also affected by how your character looks visually. So for instance, if you're wearing a cool looking jacket, that gives your street cred a boost. Night City. Cyberpunk 2077 takes place in the fictional Night City. Size-wise, CD Projekt RED are as of yet unwilling to put a specific number on it, so we can't really say for sure how much bigger it is than The Witcher 3, or if it even is bigger. But CDPR have said that it's huge. Night City is going to be constituted of 6 major districts, and the devs have promised that each of these districts is going to have its own distinct feel and look. One major difference from CDPR's last game is that while The Witcher 3 was horizontally large, Cyberpunk 27 is going to be dense and vertically huge, with structures that go up and up and up and up. And the structures in the game are going to be accessible. Additionally, the game is also going to have a day and night cycle as well as a weather system. Interactive world. Let's stick with details on Night City a while longer. The city is going to be huge and dense, yes, but it's also been designed to be very interactive. You may have gotten that sense already when we spoke of the game's inspection system, but there's more to it than that. For example, you can look at a billboard in the game, and it will tell you where the product being advertised can be bought. You know, that sort of stuff. Vendors and doctors. There are, of course, going to be vendors in the game that you can go to buy and upgrade your weapons. Additionally, there are going to be specialist vendors known as Ripper Doctors, people you can pay to buy and upgrade new implants to enhance yourself. For instance, you can have them install an optical scanner into your body, which means ripping out one of your eyeballs and replacing it with a scanner that lets you look at things better and more clearly by, for example, allowing you to zoom in on stuff. No microtransactions. It's sad that we live in a world where we have to wonder individually about every single game whether it will have microtransactions. Sad but true. Thankfully though, Cyberpunk 2077 will not have microtransactions. The trailer CD Projekt RED showed off at the Microsoft press event contained a little Easter egg in the form of a brief snippet of an FAQ. One of the questions in the text on the screen was about whether the game will have microtransactions, to which CD Projekt's response was, verbatim, "In a single-player role-playing game, are you nuts?" Well, if you look at Shadow of War.
And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.